What's happening, people? Are there people here? I'm not so sure. Obviously, this is a first time, and I've watched too many episodes of Project Camelot that start with messing with the audio for the first 20 minutes. So I like to avoid these kinds of unsure situations, but I think we're all right. I think some people are coming in. It's going to be a beautiful thing. Welcome to the first joint session. I couldn't be more excited. I feel weird talking completely to myself, but I guess that's what we're doing here. Welcome to the Higher Side Studio, I guess. I've done this show for 7+ years, and it's never been video because I've always had my computer and my studio in my bedroom. And the wife is not keen on showing the bedroom to the internet, and I'm not going to fight her on that one. I kind of agree. But today, in the very recent future, I secured a different spot to do this kind of thing. And so I thought it would be fun to start trying out. I'm seeing some people talking in the chat. I guess people are hearing me. You're hearing me, right? Let me know you're hearing me. This is exactly the kind of thing that I hate about these kind of broadcasts that I watch other people try to navigate. But here we are. Cool. Sounds like everybody can hear me just fine. Beautiful. Sweet. So I guess we got a good, healthy amount of people here. Some people did ask me, why is this not just a plus thing? It kind of is, because I consider on-demand viewing to be like all there is now. So if you get that, then it's pretty much just a plus thing. But I let everybody check it out live, because when you do these things, these live events, you get like a fraction of your audience. I've seen some episodes of the Joe Rogan Experience. I mean, the biggest podcast there is. I've caught it live, and there's like, I don't know, 7,000-8,000 people checking it out, which is, I would think, really a small amount. So I didn't know if we would have total crickets. So I opened the floodgates up. Of course, it will be recorded, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I think so. And then it will go out to everyone. And I'm recording the audio in my traditional sense, just in case something goes wrong, because this is Zoom. I'm not familiar with it. I practiced a little bit today. But what does that mean? Not all that much always. Sorry, I am trying to grab my backup, just in case. All right. So the lines are open. Callers. Let's see. If you have some kind of participation that you want, raise your hand. I guess there's a button there that allows for hands to raise. I had a plan to have people press the pound sign, but I think that there's actually something more sophisticated. It is the hand raise. So here we go. Let's do it. Good sir. You were on the air, I think. 47 Farad. Maybe your hand wasn't raised and I just randomly clicked on you. I'm going to assume that it wasn't. Maybe we'll come back. Or actually, gotta hate this kind of thing, right? I see a hand. Maya Black. Let's allow you to talk. Maya, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Greg. Can you hear me?
Beautiful. Yes, I can. Yes, I can. Maya, how are you?
Good. I am like never on the forum because I hate being in front of the computer. I live out in the middle of nowhere in Gate, Washington. Lots of trees and stuff, and I get to turn off all the Wi-Fi and be away from the electricity and grow stuff. It's pretty cool.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah, I think that's important. Unfortunately, I decided to make a career on the computer, so I am chained to it. It is the yoke around my neck. But what's up?
But yeah, me too. 40 hours a week. That's why I don't do it when I'm not working. But I had a couple interesting things I could tell you about. One, I know you're always wondering about Trump and if he was placed.
Sure.
And before he was elected, several months before, I actually met a really strange guy, someone I ran into at, I was working at Seattle Hemp Fest, and he purported to be hiding from the Morningstar megachurch thing, which I don't really know anything about religious stuff and groups, but I looked it up. It's like some huge megachurch. And he was hiding from him. And I hung out with the dude for a while he was hiding out in Washington. He was doing processing oils, THC products, basically.
Cheers.
But he was a faith healer and child prophet, and he'd been raised by these mega churches from the time he was a little kid. And he told me these weird stories about how they would have these gatherings, for example, where they would have like elite politicians, high-end religious people, business people there, and he and these other kids would be there to like wait on them, like wait tables, but they would also like psychically feed off of them. He said he couldn't remember after those events a lot happened, after what happened. And he told me a lot of random stories, which would be, I don't remember them all clearly, but I do remember him talking about Trump. And he was at a dinner that these Morningside guys were hosting, and there was a guy that he referred to as his mentor, Bob, who was also trained the same thing as a kid. And they had Donald Trump there, and it was kind of like all these religious group and whatever corporations they were affiliated with and politicians, they had basically like set it up. We're like, yeah, you're going to be the next president. And he told me maybe like 3 months before the election, he's like, oh, yeah, he's already been picked. And he mentioned the dinner, and the guy was kind of freaky. Like he had weird healing powers. He like could read stuff in my mind. He spoke to me like in the voice of my dead husband. It was really freaky.
That is freaky.
Yeah, but he called it, and he said that he was placed there, and he was dealing with the people from that church and whatever groups they were affiliated with. He threw out a lot of church names that were like big people to him. And I'm like, who the fuck are you talking about?
I mean, to make that call 3 months before the election, that is pretty huge. I mean, Peter Levenda is one guy who made me realize that intelligence networks and these like little churches you never hear of, they're kind of like these culty little groups that are intelligence gathering under the guise of being a religion. I don't know. There's some weird stuff going on. And he's really the only person who kind of brings that to the forefront, but it sounds similar to this type of group.
Yeah, it's a mega church. If you look it up, it's like a huge thing, like with on the TV, on cable, and my friend's name was Joshua. He had the last name Snizek at that time, but he's back in Amherst, Ohio, which is where they picked him up at. So they might have like gotten a hold of him, but he was running from him in an RV for about a year and a half. Had like unmarked kind of government looking cars run him off the road one time. He was still here in Washington.
Wild. Yeah, I'm really not surprised. I definitely think Trump was selected. I think this is I think a lot of people were caught off guard, but I'm not surprised there are power centers, esoteric groups, mega churches, and the like that were clued in on what was going to happen.
Awesome. Yeah, I had interesting side note to one of your shows. Somebody mentioned the Aberdeen Proving Ground. I do not remember which guest. It was recently, but they were talking about it on the East Coast. And it stuck in my head because there's an Aberdeen Proving Ground here in Washington. It's not in Aberdeen, Washington. It's in the middle of nowhere, near the Wenatchee Dam. And it's, if you were local around here, you would take 101, turn it south up, and go north on Wenatchee Valley. And I heard they've paved the whole road, but it used to be where right after the road turned to gravel, there was a road that normally is gated off. And One time it wasn't gated, and so I'm like 4x4ing down there. So, sure, I wish to see what's down here, because that's what you do when the gate's open usually.
Sure.
And there, I got down to the end of this road, and I could see there was another gate at the end. I couldn't see it clearly, but I stopped because there was a clearing, and I swear there are heads there. And I think they're stone, and they look like some kind of native carving stuff. They're probably about 5 feet tall. And I was going to go get out and look at them. And I turn around, I pull up to this gate, and it's got Aberdeen Proving Ground, all kinds of razor wire. There's a camera moving and looking at me, and there's like people moving behind the gate. And so my friend and I are like, oh shit. And we just got the hell out of there. I've never been able to go back and look at the monoliths. They're not monoliths, but little statue things. And so I'm so curious if there's stuff out there on the peninsula, because a lot of it's extremely remote. Nobody goes out there. It's where all the Bigfoot stuff is filmed and everything.
Damn, man. It probably was Ross Ben or Michael Wan. Both of them had East Coast esoteric types of content to get into. But I think there's just so much out there that we really don't know why it's named what it's named, where it is, who put it there, all that kind of crazy stuff. But I appreciate the call. I guess I should.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thanks for calling.
Talk to someone else. I want to hear from other people. Thanks, Greg.
Right. You got it. Thanks for calling. All right. Let's see. Do we have hands raised? Jeremy Walter actually said that in World War II, the Catholic Church used the confession booths to collect intelligence, exactly the kind of thing I was talking about. And actually, this is a joint session. We should probably get this going. I don't know how many out there are partaking in the THC sacrament, but I'm going to light this thing up, and I'm looking for hands to be raised. 47 Farad. I hope I didn't screw you. I see a hand here. Lindsay Smith. Let's do it. Lindsay Smith, what's happening? I see ya. I don't see the audio coming through. Lindsay Smith, I'm trying for you. I see that cat picture. Gotta love that. But for some reason, it is just not happening. So I'm looking at quite a few people. Somebody's got to want to call. This is why you open it up to everybody and not just a select few people, because who is going to spend their Friday night calling me while I sit here? I know this one. Let's do it. I know this guy knows how to work this mic. Gordon, my man.
What's up, homie? How are you?
Hey, doing well.
Yeah, it's late here. You're West Coast, right?
Of course, San Diego. Guys,
Yeah,
if you don't know, this is Gordon from those conspiracy guys, not the Gordon you might have thought, but
Gordon White. Yeah, not me. I'm more Gordon Pale.
But this is a good man. If you haven't heard those conspiracy guys, you should. Gordon treated me to a good time in Dublin when I was out there earlier this year, I think. Time flies by, but I'm pretty sure it was this year.
I think it was last year or the year before, even.
Yeah. It was not 2 years ago. It might have been last year.
Last summer. Yeah, we got some crotch weed and kicked the doors off a few pubs and stuff. It was good fun.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to do the same around Christmas in San Diego with you when I come over.
Yes, you are planning that trip out. That's awesome. I think it's very ambitious to go all through the U.S. I mean, you're hitting a lot of areas that I don't know how how entertained you're going to be by them, but if it's your first time, I'm sure you can find some stuff to do in Oklahoma and Montana and all those
Yeah,
other
it's mostly
great
just
places.
fields, I think I've been told. A lot of open space, right?
That's correct. But yes, man.
I just hope I don't get Clintoned. Do you know, I pick up the wrong thing and they're all like, "Pew!" Like the worst case of suicide I've ever seen, you know, something like that.
Indeed. And I saw some people kind of, maybe it was through Twitter or something, telling you to be very careful. The Civil
know.
War is coming. And
Yeah.
honestly, it's like the way the media presents things is just insane. You know this. And
Yeah, absolutely.
everywhere you look, it's calm as can be, as far as I can tell. No problem. It's like the old, Bill Hicks thing. He used to talk about, you turn on the news, it's death, destruction, war, drugs. And then you look outside and it's just crickets. It's a nice night. Nothing really to complain about.
I practiced for years to try and do that whistle that he does to make cricket noises, but it never worked. Yeah, we had.
I almost attempted it, and I was like, no, okay, not this early.
We had a comedian here as well with 9/11, when on the telly, like when 9/11 happened for about 6 weeks, it was like, the world is fucked. And then you look out the window when you're getting a glass of water and it's just like rabbits and sunshine.
Exactly.
I'm watching on YouTube now, like I only get to see America through the prism of the internet, you know? So you're looking on YouTube and it's like people in Portland baiting rocks off each other and lads in Berkeley in pitched battles like it's some kind of weird, you know, neckbeard 300s, this is Sparta kind of shit. It's very, I mean, if you're looking at it just through the news, it's probably very alarming. And a lot of people there are doing just that. Like if you're in Idaho and you're on the internet, you're looking outside and it's just like potatoes and wheat. And, you know, you have Antifa kicking in the windows of Starbucks in downtown Portland and you're like, well, I'm not going there.
Right. It's not to say nothing ever happens, but it's obviously overhyped. I mean,
I'm looking forward to going and seeing some of those school shooting sites, I guess, and say like, what the fuck is going on, man? What's actually going on?
Talk about dark tourism. If you've seen that on Netflix,
I saw that guy. Yeah,
as dark as it gets.
David Farrier, I think is his name, the New Zealand journalist. We're gonna go and hit up some. I was talking to a guy about going to these underground, I guess you call them like luxury underground survival condos. They cost like $3 million a piece.
You're gonna get into one?
Oh, fingers crossed. Yeah, they get a Humvee. Will come. Yeah. You like the siren goes off like, and the Humvee comes and picks you up with your like little dog in your arm, you know, and an attaché case from Louis Vuitton. And you get in the Humvee and they drive you, and you have to like get in before the shutters come down, and then you can live for 2 years in these fucking amazingly plush survival condos.
Good luck. You know, it's one of those things, you know, you can feel all secure, like you got your contract in place and you paid for it. If the shit really were to hit the fan to the point that you needed it, you better be the first one there. Because no one's going to give a fuck who owns that or where the contract was.
It's just an open door, like, get the fuck out. But your man apparently has like armed guards, like some mercenary force that will guard the people all the way in. But like, we've seen zombie movies, we know the crack. You know, unless you have a JCB, like, you know, the Caterpillar earth movers, you have to have like a snow plow on the front of the thing just to get through the bodies and get in, man. That's the way it goes.
Yeah, it's like that Rushkoff Medium article. You know, he goes and consults all these Silicon Valley elite, and he kind of talked about how they're all really concerned about how to stop the masses, the filthy masses, from, you know, charging them when the shit hits the fan. Even to the point that they're like, well, how do I get my security team to listen to me when money has no value? Do I use shot collars where I only have the key code? Do I lock all the food up and only give them a key code and then change it every week? You know, I mean, what kind of world are we talking about? What kind of practical, like, logistics do you think you're going to need in the near future? And it's like, what kind of world do you want to live in?
It's going back to a time, Greg, when it's going to have to be like, do you know the way now there's this whole assault on masculinity, right? And I see these posts of like, look at these beta males, you know, they're all slim and they have no testosterone, and you know they hold their hands up to their mouths like Stefan from Saturday Night Live, instead of being like, I'm shocked, but I'm not going to make an expression. Like it's weird, like men aren't men anymore, and it's coming to a time when like weedy dudes like the likes of Zuckerberg and stuff, they're super rich and have loads of people that follow them and do as they say for money. But like you said, when money has no value and you have no, you know, there's no impetus or like prerogative to follow somebody's orders, you're just like, well, I'm bigger than you and I have a gun, fuck off.
Right.
There'll be leaders, real people who have like genuine meritorious human qualities like integrity and trustworthiness and bravery and courage. And these guys are going to like back to like a primal state where they'll fucking just be like, some guy tried to come into our village and I beat the shit out of him. And I took his gun and I shot him, and everyone's like, well, you're the fucking toughest guy here. Will you be our leader? It's like, reluctantly, yes, I will. And he looks like someone like Sawyer from Lost or some shit. And he's like, okay, I'll do it, bro. Whatever. Yeah, and he has that kind of, yeah.
Oh,
like
and this stuff harkens back to the episode with Gordon of like, what kind of world do you want to, if this is the world, you know, don't you want to die a human being rather than a monster? You know, do you really want to take out 5 people to get another 2 days out of this, you know, Armageddon type, the Purge style Walking Dead nightmare that people are talking about? Why do you want to, like, what are you willing to go through to like just have a few more breaths? I mean, that's kind of the attitude. Like, if you know that there's some kind of life after life, if you've done enough drugs, then you maybe don't feel the need, the necessity, the desperation to have that kind of experience in the last 48 hours of civilization, I guess.
Yeah, you just like smoke a bowl and get your dick sucked and fucking have a good time, watch the sunset.
Cheers.
Yeah.
It's like, what am I doing here?
Isn't it so weird that like people fantasize about this zombie apocalypse? Like for the last 10 years, I think it's been peak zombie. Every game had a like an extra zombie mode. So many new zombie movies, like, you know, 28 Days Later and all these like super fast running zombies. It's kind of like predictive programming where they're trying to put that I guess like the fear of chaos, the fear of when the brave new world falls apart and the blueprints are broken and no one's following orders anymore. Like, it's going to get nasty. People are going to have to be ready for it. And if you don't follow the rules, that's what's going to happen. And which side do you want to be on? The side of the good people who try to survive, or are you at the zombie horde who's always portrayed as like the shitbirds, you know?
Right.
I wanted to be in like Demolition Man, where we're under the ground with what's that guy's name that stole Bill Hicks's act, and then
Dennis Leary
laughed when Bill Hicks got cancer. Like, we want to be underground with Dennis Leary, you know, living a real true life, even though we have to eat like old pizza from garbage cans.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. And I also think we're quite a ways away from that. I hope. I mean, again,
well, I think you see what happens to kids when the fucking Wi-Fi doesn't work, man. You turn off the electricity and the internet for 2 days and it's going to get hairy real quick.
Right. People don't know what to do with their own brains.
Come here. I put up an episode there about flat Earth during the week, and I'm getting nothing but flat Earth weirdos. Have you ever done something serious on the flat Earth?
Well, you know, I've had a few guests. I consider the best voices for the flat Earth, which would be Eric Dubay and Jeranism. I think they are some of the best presenters for that information. And I cover all kinds of topics that I don't necessarily agree with, but I'm willing to check out. And the more extreme and strange the case, the better the presenter I feel like I need for that. Today would be an example. John LeBon, he thinks all of history is a hoax. And we did a 3-hour show. And I think he's a great presenter, well-spoken. I don't know. I think ancient Egypt is real. I could be wrong. John Labatt.
Yeah, I looked into stuff about that years ago. Did he mention like Anatoly Fomenko?
Yeah, he's not a fan. He thinks Anatoly Fomenko is small potatoes, and basically he thinks that the mainstream and Anatoly Fomenko are more similar than he is with Anatoly Fomenko. He's so far down the line.
I'm planning an episode on that stuff in season 9, I think, for Erewhon. But it's a big ask, you know. There's a lot of stuff, and it's so unprovable because it's like you're fighting against the rest of the world. Like it's you and a couple of dudes against everyone else's mind. But I find with the flat Earth thing, like Dubé and Jeranism's YouTube channel are really good. Loads of information. But like, how can you take that in? And then when people are online, like even if you're like, come here, please, are you serious? Stop. They're like, no, man, you gotta. Like, there's so much more vehement about it than there would be about anything else. Do you know what? Like, do you get a lot of people going like, that fucking Eric Dubé, man? How dare you have him on your show? We thought you were cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the other problem is you have Eric Dubé on. All the people who love Flat Earth come, and you know the Higher Side Chats is their new favorite show, and then you go 10 episodes without touching on the Flat Earth, and they're mad at you too. So you can't win either way. They're going to beat you up. So I think the best approach is just pretend like it's 7 years ago. Nobody's listening. You're just trying to make the best show you can.
Yeah.
And don't worry about the feedback all so much.
Yeah, well, I think I'm just going to have to do that. Put the head down and move forward. This is a great thing that you do here. This is your first joint session.
This is
cool, man. I do one of these every month, and I use appear.in, and people jump in on the camera, and there's like 12 of us in the room at the same time, and it gets a bit mental. But it's brilliant to do. I think
it's fun so far. I mean, your call number 2, session number 1. I just love it. Joint to my head, but I am gonna, I guess, see if we can take some more calls.
Sure, man. Well, I look forward to seeing you in a couple of months, and fair play. Keep going. Steady.
Yes, dude. And I'm sure we'll do a full THC eventually.
Oh, for shizzle, in person.
For sure. All right, man. Take care.
See you, Greg.
Peace. All right, Gordon from Those Conspiracy Guys. Love that man. Let's see. We got a hand raised right here. Radagast Brown. Bringing you in, Radagast. I'll let him or her tell me what it is. Radagast Brown.
Radagast is the Lord of the Rings.
Oh, I like Lord of the Rings, but I'm really not that hardcore about it. Don't tell Gordon White.
Greg, this is so cool that you're doing this. I just want to ask one question. You know, I was listening to the Charlotte Iserbyt, a great podcast. And can you, or anyone really, provide an example of when you got educational programming, when you were in the room and feel that there was like programming? If you could provide an example and maybe discuss a little bit about education. Thanks a lot, Greg.
Yeah. And I'm gonna mute your mic just so I can hear the crickets. Sounds like a nice night. Great environment.
It is. Yeah, please mute that. Yeah.
Okay. Are you okay? I'll just mute it and I'll answer your question. Programming in school. So the Charlotte show, some people first off were a little disappointed that I didn't interview her more, that I really just let her talk, which is what I've always done when people do want to just talk. But also in her case, she's 87, and I don't think she could hear me very well. I was like talking very loud. You know, there is editing to smooth the show out, so you don't even notice as bad as it was at times. So when that happens, and it occasionally does, you just let them talk. I mean, she's used to making her case. Of course, there are some things that go with being of that generation that you just got to look past. Some of the terminology of who the power structures are and all that. But yeah, I thought that was a great show. I was really honored to spend the time with her. I mean, she was working for the Reagan administration. Not that I, want to idolize politicians or people who work in the system, but people who are whistleblowers and get fired for exposing things like the programming, I think that's commendable. We're not all bad people, and people can be redeemed and all that good stuff. But, well, one example is what Charlotte said is she had her son bring home that document. My name is blank. My favorite color is blank. My family is blank, blank, blank. We live here. All that stuff that we're all familiar with. I think we've all filled out a form like that. And it's kind of mundane and innocuous. It's not a big deal, I guess, but it is data collection, which is a lot more obvious now how important that kind of stuff is. And who knows, that information in a public school, those papers, once they're stacked up on the teacher's desk, do they get handed out back to the kids, or do maybe some of them get shipped off to some place for think tank analysis? Who knows? But in terms of programming, the whole system is a program. Like the whole responding to bells and just, filling out get your answers from the textbook, regurgitate. It's not a lot of processing. Like in college, when I got to philosophy class, I was like, oh my God, this is so refreshing. It's really just like a conversation led by someone who really does know their shit, but is going to let you talk it out and figure it out and that kind of stuff. And now you see videos online of Russian schools, of Japanese schools, Chinese schools, where they're going outside and they're building tree houses. I mean, I wish my second grader came home and was like, oh yeah, I went out in the woods with the knife we made in school 2 days ago, and I contributed with 4 other kids and we built a tree house. I mean, that's a pretty practical skill. I mean, what does a second grader really need to be doing except developing some kind of skills, I think. But it's all that cog in the wheel programming that gets you to respond to like time clocks. And then you just go right into a job where they pay you peanuts and you're doing the same kind of thing. And meanwhile, the elite are going to completely different schools where they're learning rhetoric and the trivium and all that kind of stuff that is just completely out of ours. But me personally, I guess, I went to a private school, so it's a little different. I think it's more rigid and pretty terrible, but it doesn't necessarily apply to the public school. But one thing that did happen that I think is pretty messed up is my 8th grade teacher, she brought a girl to the front of the class and was like, hey, I want you to identify the worst behaved kids in this classroom. A student, you're making her you're putting her on the spot to rat out the people she's known, her peers, since kindergarten. But so she has to do it. And I give her the nod, it's okay, go ahead and throw my name out there. I'm not mad. And she did, along with a couple of my buddies. The teacher takes some desks and pushes them to one side of the room and says, this is the Hellraisers row. These people are just here to make my life hell, and I'm not teaching to them. They're going to sit there. Go ahead and talk amongst yourself. You are not part of this class, and you can't disrupt these people's learning. That's an adult who did that to me in the 8th grade. I mean, that's kind of messed up. And my parents are paying thousands of dollars for that experience. I'm sure I was trouble. But now that I'm older, now that I'm in my 30s, I thought it was ridiculous then. I was rolling my eyes. I didn't really care. But now that I'm in my 30s, I'm like, you can't handle an 8th grader, woman. This is your job. Why'd you sign up for this if you can't handle an 8th grader? I don't know. But that's kind of messed up. If I was a different kind of person, that could affect me to my core. And again, that's not really the same kind of thing as programming, but it's not good. All right. Mr. Brown, I appreciate the question. I'm going to bring in Jeremy Walter. I think.
Oh, yeah. Hey, can you hear me?
I can, Jeremy. What's happening?
Not much. Just enjoying a quiet Friday night. How you doing, Greg?
Can't complain. Also enjoying a quiet Friday night, drinking a little drink, smoking a little smoke, doing that whole thing. And now we're here. What's the deal, Jeremy?
Drinking a little drink. I was wondering if you had seen the fairly recent new Netflix special on the Unabomber.
No, I have not.
It's actually quite good, quite good. The I figured I'd tell you a little bit about how the Unabomber touched my life in a very personal way.
Hello. Sure.
And
Yeah.
so my dad's mentor and writing partner was a target of the Unabomber in
God.
in Ann Arbor, Michigan, my hometown, and he his name is Jim McConnell. If you want to look, if anyone wants to look that up, but his graduate student like teaching assistant was at his house and actually opened the package, and it was a nail bomb, and he got pretty fucked up from it, but he didn't die.
Wow.
Yeah, it was wild. So he didn't get his target, but I found it very interesting watching the documentary. They show his or not documentary, rather reenactment of the Unabomber story, and they show his days at Harvard, and they also show these psychological programming sessions that he was in. But what they don't mention is that he was on LSD during these like very intense psychological programming things. And I've always thought about, and I talked to my dad about this, about writing the Unabomber, because he's still in prison, and like writing him and asking him like, why did you target like our friend, like,
right.
He ended up dying coincidentally like a few years later, maybe like I think like within 5 years. I was a pretty small child at the time.
Damn.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, man. I mean, that's wild. Of course, I'm not surprised that the Unabomber fits the template of going through psychological programming, LSD type stuff. I mean, MK Ultra stuff. Not surprised. I really don't know that much about the Unabomber case. Just know the Cliff Notes. But I'm not surprised that there's a deeper story there. There always seems to be.
Oh, sure. It reminds me a lot of kind of the path of the guy that blew up the Oklahoma City building.
Mm-hmm.
He and in fact he also, I believe, was in Michigan for a period of time. There's some connection with.
So Jeremy,
I'm on the.
Dad, I'm on the phone.
I'm on the phone here. Oh yeah, I love it. There's actually also a coincidence with the Oklahoma City bombing guy in Jackson, Michigan. But I always wondered if the Oklahoma City bombing guy, if he was like kind of a Manchurian candidate for for the CIA, because the way that he got away with all these hits for so long,
right?
And they discuss in really in quite good detail in the Netflix special that like that he would go to deliver one bomb, he would like get wear like a really excellent costume with like fake mustache, hat, glasses, whatever, switch it up every single time, and get on a bus route to a mailbox, never take the same route, never use the same mailbox, nothing. And it was just like some next level, cloak and dagger kind of stuff.
Right.
So it
Like
seems
they
like
kinda
he
allowed
had
him to
like,
be.
some training or something.
Right, right. That seems to be the template. I'm not surprised. I interviewed a guy a long, long time ago, man, in the early days, and I can't remember his name, but he wrote the book Terror Factory inside the FBI's manufactured war on terror. And we hear so much about the CIA, but in these post 9/11 days, when they're all out there looking for so-called terrorists, the FBI, there's case after case after case where they find somebody who's not quite right in the head, and they pump them full of they fuel them up, get them all pumped up against America, and they give them access to weapons that they would not otherwise have, and then put them in place for an event. And they allow that stuff to happen, or they grab them at the last minute. Sometimes they don't. He's got cases where people did die because the FBI found someone, handed them a gun, and then just like let nature take its course. So wild stuff. Sorry to hear about the family friend. That is really sad, but it's crazy that such a household story touched someone you guys know. And thanks for calling. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, totally. I'll just add one last bit to that, was that he owned this like super elaborate postmodern house that I believe he had built for him, with like, he had like a pool inside, and and he drove a Rolls Royce and stuff. And I feel like he was definitely involved in some version of MK Ultra. And in fact, my dad has kind of started to open up to me a little bit in his older years about working on MK Ultra. So it's kind of my theory that the CIA, or whoever didn't, they didn't get to him with the Unabomber, but they eventually got to him some other way. So who knows?
Wow. Can you elaborate on that at all? The working in MK Ultra?
Yeah. Well, the Jim McConnell is like kind of one of his claim to fame discoveries is that he would train worms to do certain things, to have certain behaviors, and then he would kill them and grind them up and feed them to other worms, and then those worms that ate the worms that had been trained exhibited those same behaviors.
Wow.
So you just gotta wonder about like how they would incorporate that into something that would be weaponized. I personally have I've been vegetarian and vegan for about a decade easily, and like I always wonder about fast food, about and factory farming, how when you're they say that when they kill the cows, no matter how the farmers may try to hide from them the fact that they're going to die, they do know it, even if it's like an instant before they die. And there's like a surge of adrenaline enters the bloodstream, and then essentially like that feeling of adrenaline and terror and fear enters the meat, and then that's consumed. So
yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot to unpack with the meat stuff, and I don't want to say I have blinders on to a lot of it, because I don't, but I am addicted to fast food and all that jazz. I would say I've gotten 85% of it out of my diet, but there's still that last 15% to go. What are you going to do? We're all living in poisonous times. So if it's not the meat, it's the 5G, it's the fucking chemtrails, it's the fluoride. What are you going to do? Jeremy, thanks for calling. Thanks for listening. Take care out there.
Take care, Greg.
All right. Wow. Okay. Getting in a groove here. There are plenty of people around, but I don't see the hands raised. Guys, if you want to talk to me, I think your screen looks a little different than mine, but towards the bottom, there should be a button for raising your hand. Go ahead and raise that hand, and I will bring you in. I could read some stuff in this chat. It's a very lengthy chat, but I'm not going to, because no one wants to see some guy reading the chat, okay? I've seen those videos. They're not fun. We might be done. I might get off work early. Oh, man. All right, a hand's up. Nate. I won't give out your last name. I guess I should have been doing that. Allow Nate to talk. Nate, you're about to.
Hey, can you hear me?
In here, I can. Nate,
Cool.
What's happening? Cheers.
Hey, how's it going? I love your show, man.
Thanks.
Well, I thought I'd pipe up in defense of The Last American Vagabond because I do enjoy his videos and watching him read chats.
Okay, yeah.
You ever watch him?
Great. The Last American Vagabond. I actually think, from what I understand, that's a website that has multiple people writing for it. And
Well, he has a YouTube channel. Sorry to interrupt. His name is Ryan, I guess. But he does a lot of writing on the channel, and he has a YouTube channel where he does a lot of streams. He's actually so prolific that I have trouble keeping up, but he's a good source of information.
Right on.
Just for, the same kind of stuff James Corbett and the like would cover. That's an idol of his.
Right. I've had James on the show a couple of times.
Right, yeah. That was a good episode.
Did you have anything else? Did you just want to tell me about The Last Vagabond?
Well, I actually also wanted to mention, I don't want to start a big controversy, but veganism really, in my opinion, is, if anything, it's like a government-sanctioned eating disorder. It's a cult, frankly. And I think it's, really, you can just see who's pushing it. I mean, from Big Pharma and Monsanto to the celebrities. It's just, there's a lot of red flags,
Fair enough. I mean, I'm not vegan. I'm not vegetarian, so I'm not really going to defend the lifestyle. But I feel like I know people who have that lifestyle. They're loving it. They feel healthy. Who am I to judge?
Yeah, a lot of people have that attitude, but unfortunately, the first generation doesn't always exhibit all the consequences,
That's true.
There are epigenetic consequences, and I feel like it's really designed to enfeeble us, and make people infertile. It's interesting because some people seem to become more aggressive, others more docile, but nobody long-term seems affected positively, mentally or physically.
Yeah, I really wouldn't.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I think this is very interesting. I really wouldn't know, because the people I do know who are vegan or vegetarian seem healthy for the most part. I do know some that seem a little frail, I will say.
Yeah.
But, I don't know that they weren't frail beforehand either.
Right. Yeah, I mean, for a while I was kind of buying into the vegan bodybuilder thing, but the more I've looked into it, it seems to me like a lot of those guys are hoaxers. I mean,
really?
I feel like they're almost being, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but I'll just go ahead and give you some people that you should look into if you want to investigate for yourself. They do a good job of debunking all this stuff, but I guess you're recording this, so you don't need to write it down, but Frank Tufano on YouTube. His last name's Tufano. And also Sverige, SV3RIGE. That guy's pretty out there, but I commented on one of your earlier episodes that he's really born to be a guest on THC, and I think he'd jump at it. You should really try to have him on.
Is if I was only going to be able to do one show on veganism as a conspiracy, you think the second guy would be my guy?
Oh, I guarantee it. The thing is, if you go after him, he is a flat earther. I'm not one personally, and he might be interested in talking about that. So, I mean, you might touch on that just to appease him, but I would try to keep it on veganism because that is his main focus on YouTube.
Cool.
And
will
I think
check
he
it
is
out.
your guy.
That's so
for that
funny because I feel like veganism and the flat earth community are somewhat aligned. Eric Dubay is kind of in that thing. He's like, everything's
Yeah.
a Jewish conspiracy, and it's the Jews who want us
Yeah.
to consume all this flesh, and it's a Saturnian, Luciferian society.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that because Sverige too. He's like a hardcore carnivore, and he's a raw carnivore, so he eats nothing but raw flesh
Oh shit.
and organ meats and stuff. In fact, he went to a vegan street festival somewhere in Europe, and he was eating a goat's head, like eyeballs and everything, just right in front of him.
Okay.
But it was he's done similar things too, and he has a documentary called the NWO Diet, and that would be a good place to start, actually.
Perfect. Yeah, I like the name. It's catchy.
Yeah,
Provocative.
it is. Yeah,
Right on,
and
man.
but hold on, there was something else. Oh yeah, the similarity between veganism and flat Earth. It's funny you brought that up because I noticed the same connection.
Mhm.
There's more than one ex-vegan besides Sverige who, I forgot to mention he's an ex-vegan. That's another thing that makes his story interesting. And if you really, go through his history on YouTube, he's a fascinating guy, and he's got some very controversial views. He's like, I don't want to give it away. Anyway,
Spoil it for me.
right, yeah, or the listeners. But anyway, there's another one named Daphne. Daphne Reloaded is her channel. She's another ex-vegan who's a flat earther, and I feel like the reason why flat earth is attractive to vegans is not only because I think their brains might be a little deficient, but there's also the fact that I think once you're convinced of something like veganism and you've committed your life to it and then finally been woken up from it, I think you also start to radically, your skepticism becomes a little too sensitive, I guess. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Very well.
It's like,
case.
yeah, I feel like they start to question everything, too much of an extreme.
Right. Man.
It's like,
well, I mean, you might have got me a show out of this because I do like to take movements or just one specific topic and try to make the complete case that it comes from these nefarious cabals. And the New World Order diet sounds like a good start, and maybe it'll become a show. But thanks for calling, man. Take care.
and I don't want to hog the mic, but if I could say one more thing, there's one more YouTuber who's actually interviewed Sverige, and if you're having trouble getting a hold of him, you might consider this guy a backup because he would also have a great conversation about veganism and similar topics, but the New World Order and social programming in general, social engineering. But anyway, his name's the channel is Primal Edge Health.
Cool.
He has a lot of interviews with carnivore diet proponents, paleo type guys, but Sverige as well. And you can see how their views differ if you listen to his interview with him and then kind of decide. They might even both be worth having independently because it's kind of interesting the way they diverge, but at the same time have a lot in common.
Right on. Cool. I'll dig into that because I do think it's interesting. It is a worldview that I don't subscribe to, veganism, vegetarianism. I don't care if people do it, but it might be provocative to go into something that if it's affecting people negatively, it has nothing to do with me because I'm not in that camp. But Nate, thanks for
I feel
calling.
like it's almost designed to call the compassionate.
Very well could be. Appreciate the call.
Yeah,
thanks for
thanks,
listening.
man.
Take care, dude. That was interesting. A little diet tussle there. That is an interesting thing that diet, carnivoreism, is very in the zeitgeist right now because Joe Rogan just had on Jordan Peterson's daughter, and she grew up with arthritis and all kinds of crazy health issues. And she started trying to fix it with diet and went through all the different possibilities and finally had her diet narrowed down to just a few vegetables, salt and pepper, and steak. And then she, removed the steak, felt worse, went back, removed the greens, felt better, and now she's on a strict all meat diet, all beef diet, I believe, and she feels better than ever. So that is really interesting. It got me thinking when I saw that it is true that there is no diet more harshly judged than the carnivore diet. I mean, I'm a 75% carnivore, and even I think it's pretty extreme. So is that programming? I don't know. All right. So guys, a lot of you out there, I'm not seeing a lot of hands raised. And, that's what this is all about. Raise those hands. Again, how many years of school did you go through? You know the drill with the raising of the hand. Someone asked about George Webb as a potential guest. See, I'm reading the chat then. You got me here. It's dead air time. George Webb, yeah. He is an interesting dude. I mean, the thing is a lot of people write me like, hey, why haven't you had this person on? As if I'm acting as a gatekeeper or I don't want to have them on. And I know I've started to do some repeat guest shows for sure. And that for the longest time, there was like almost no repeat guests, like a couple. But 5 shows a month, that goes by really, really quickly. Usually there's 1 or 2 things that are topical. So I got my go-to people for like a current events wrap up of all the things happening. Like I like a Chris Knowles analysis. I like a Gordon White analysis. Magnora 7 did a great job. It's about, I look through the network and who's looking at these specific things that I think are interesting, that are culturally relevant. I go to them, bring them on again. But if I do that 1 or 2 times a month, then we're talking 3 shows. And it just adds up so quick. I've got a list a mile long. Joseph Farrell's got a new book out. I want to have him on to talk about it. William Engdahl, one of the more, I don't know, mainstream. I wouldn't say mainstream, but I guess political guests we've had. I thought he was great. Thought he brought a certain credibility and a certain academic approach to geopolitical analysis that I appreciated. He's got a new book. The guy he wrote The Last Hegemon. That was what we talked about last time, and the Muslim Brotherhood and all that. He was a good guest, and I want to have him back on. So there you go. I want to have Gordon from those conspiracy guys. We just talked to him. I want him to come on. I've been trying to get Sam and Ryan on from Tinfoil Hat. It just never ends. So yeah. All right, guys. We made it to an hour. I plan to maybe be here for 2, but I will say that Ozark just came out on Netflix today. I wouldn't hate it if I got to go start watching it. Had a couple drinks, smoked myself a joint, feeling pretty good. I wouldn't mind taking another call or 2, but we definitely don't want to hear me just filling up airtime. It is difficult to play producer, host, and engineer all at the same time. Couple beers and a joint in, but here we are. I'm doing it. All right, we got, okay. Maybe I just haven't been seeing these. We got a couple. We're going with Brenton. We're going to bring you in. Brenton, what's happening?
Oh, not much, man. How are you?
Better every day. How are you?
Cool. I'm good, man. I just didn't want to see you looking lonely over there. I'm tired. I just got off work, but I just wanted to say thank you for doing this. It's a really cool idea. Thank you for doing the show. I really love listening every week. So nice. Yeah, I don't know, man. I love all the shows. I love the weird ones. I love how you host it. You know, you don't try to talk over people, and
absolutely.
You know, you just let people be weird, and I really appreciate that. So
for sure. Cool. Like, let me ask you maybe favorite topic or favorite guest, if you can think of someone or something that you like covered.
I don't know, man. I've been really, I like the magic episodes. I've been trying to get into that a little bit. The same people you bring on, I guess. I like Chris Knowles, and Gordon's interesting, but I really like that one that you just had the Schism guy.
Oh, yeah. Michael Joseph.
Yeah, I like him. I've been through most of his videos. I don't know. I like listening to him.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It just depends on my mood, I guess. Sometimes I really like the deep conspiracies of, corporate child trafficking and stuff like that. And sometimes I just like to hear about science. I was listening to one today about the Venus blueprint.
Oh, yeah. That is one of my favorites. It's definitely one in the archives that is unique and kind of stands alone. And I know he wrote another book too, Richard Merrick. And he would be a fun guest to get back. Towards the end of that show, he is talking about something. It's foggy in my mind now, but I was going to say I'll never forget it, but that kind of is a contradiction. But
yeah, I only got to listen to about half.
Oh, right on. You only listen to about half of it. Well, he talks about some kind of distribution pattern that exists where if you were to map even roadkill across the nation, that you would find that it eventually finds this rhythm in this particular ratio. And that goes for basically everything. He's kind of talking about simulation type stuff, like seeing the code of reality. I thought that was really interesting.
It is.
I've been meaning to go back to listen to that one again myself, just to refresh my mind and try to see if I could get him back. But yeah, what a show to pull out, man. Good call.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I got to be honest, I went through all, I don't remember how I stumbled onto YouTube, maybe through Duncan Trussell. And
that's possible.
I listened to all of the regular shows and said, fuck it, man, I'm going to join. And finally did. I've been going through the entire archives and listening to all 2 hours again. So
damn, right on. Cool, man. Well, I definitely appreciate you hopping over to the plus side. I hope you feel like it's worth it.
Definitely.
Cool. Well, thanks for calling. Thanks for tuning in on a Friday night. Have yourself a drink or a smoke or whatever you do to dust off that work residue.
I will, man.
All right. Take care. Peace. Awesome. So there were like 3 hands up, but I think they went down during that process. I don't know if it does that automatically. I don't know if people just were like, oh, I guess he's not answering my call. But here we are, little over an hour. I'm not seeing any more people. Not seeing any more hands raised. From what I understood, when the announcement came out to people, they actually could call in with a phone number. Like, that's what I thought would be cool. But maybe I made it a little too narrow. I'm not sure. I could have just posted the phone number to Facebook and Twitter and all that stuff. And this is a process. So this first one was all right. I definitely thought some of the calls were really interesting and I had a good time. I don't see any more hands raised, but Chris, Dank, Eric, Joe, Ruth, Samantha. I think I know Samantha. Terry, all you guys.
Hey, Greg, can you hear me?
Hey, I can.
This is Radagast.
Radagast.
Yeah, Radagast.
Don't know how you did that, but you broke through. So what's up, man?
It's a little weird because this is my first time on Zoom, but this is great, man. I really appreciate you doing this. I guess my question that I wanted to pose was, talking, kind of building upon the last comment about magic. We're all trying to make our way in the world, and I have a family that's growing. And is there some safe magical, I don't know, practices or things that I can do to sort of make my house a really safe house and sort of protect my family, is my question.
Well, that's a fair question. And Gordon White on multiple occasions has told me it might be wise to do some protection magic. I haven't. So I would look up protection magic. I mean, there's definitely stuff out there. I have skimmed it. If that's important to you, if you feel like there's some reason, energetic reason, or just you want to be aggressive about being preemptive, then go ahead. I would look up protection magic. Regular manifestation magic, I mean, sigils are always safe. I think everybody should be doing sigil magic. I don't talk about magic a whole lot, and I really don't do it a whole lot. It is actually quite intensive, and I can be very lazy. So you have to be disciplined, but there is a lot of work to it. I like when Dr. Stephen Skinner said it's kind of like doing chemistry. Like, we don't doubt chemistry exists. We're not all doing chemistry. It's very difficult to do proper chemistry. So I thought that was a good analogy, but I think you should incorporate sigil magic into any routine. There's no reason not to. I have multiple groups of friends who consider me pretty lucky. I guess I consider myself pretty lucky. I don't know if it's just in my DNA, if it's just a perception thing, if I just stumbled into it, or if it's the sigil magic, or if it's just the power of manifestation. Who knows? But I don't think that there is a problem doing sigil magic. I think there's a lot of other ways to waste time that definitely aren't going to improve your life. So why not take a shot? Well, guys, I think we're calling it. I had a good time. I hope you all did as well. Thanks for tuning in. This will be on the Plus site for Plus people. It was fun to do a video thing. Had to be all camera ready. It was nice to show off the Higher Side Studio. I'm still tweaking it. It's still new, but it's a great start, I think. Looks pretty cool. And there we have it. Drink a little drink, smoke a little smoke, and I will see you next time. Peace.